What up, what up, what up, Hype Squad? It's your boy Lucrecio coming at you with another video. And if you're new, go ahead and click subscribe if you want to join this Hype Squad, alright? So today's video is about the Golden State Warriors. None other than the big boys in the NBA right now. And I hate to say that in the league that has LeBron James still, in his prime, but it is what it is. Golden State, the team that's gone 67 wins, 73 wins, 67 wins, championship, lost in the finals, championship. The big boys on campus, basically. The guys who teamed up and are now taking over the NBA. I mean, it just is what it is. This team is so good for so many reasons, all right? And I gotta start at Steve Kerr. I remember when they first fired Mark Jackson, I was just like, oh, no. That's a big mistake. Why would you let go of a true coach for somebody who's never coached before? And then on the other hand, I was like, why does Steve Kerr keep getting all these opportunities? He was a player, and then he went to become like a general manager, and then now he's a coach. I mean, what is he really proving? He wasn't even that great of a player, and all this crap. And then I just had to shut up, because as soon as he got there, he obviously had a vision for this team. He obviously understood the direction the NBA was going, and he took a very intellectual approach towards forming this team, right? He looked at the big men in the NBA and he said, you know what? The NBA is not played from the inside out anymore. I don't necessarily have to get bigs to guard somebody in the post, because nobody knows how to post up anymore. Nobody knows how to get buckets on the block. And if nobody knows how to get buckets on a block, I can get away with playing the undersized forward at center. And if I can get away with playing undersized forward at center, I can get away with a whole ton of crap and nobody can do anything about it. And if I can get away with all that stuff, I can dominate the league. And that's basically what happened, in my opinion. They took Draymond Green from somebody who was like, Mark Jackson was basically using them as like another Quincy Acy type player for a while. And then he did get a starting role. They did end up moving David Lee to the bench, and they put Draymond Green in the starter role. But he was still like trying to play forward in there, trying to get rebounds and play defense and whatnot. Steve Kerr saw him. He remembered the days at Michigan State, and he said, hey, you know what, Draymond? I want you to be my primary playmaker. I want you to initiate the offense for this team. And then he took Steph Curry, who Mark Jackson was forcing to try to get 10 assists, try to average 8 assists a game. Don't worry so much about scoring. You got to facilitate for your teammates. He saw Steph Curry. He was like, Steph Curry, you're a once-in-a-generational type of scoring talent. You're probably one of the best shooters I've ever seen. I'm not going to put you in a box, this point guard box. I'm going to use you as an ultimate type weapon. And what did he do? He set Curry loose as a volume scorer who can also facilitate. And what has happened since he took over? Steve Kerr took this team and he put people in positions to succeed at their best, to utilize them at their best, and that's exactly what happened. Draymond Green has excelled, the defensive player of the year. He's somebody who had a season where I think he averaged like 7.4 assists as a power forward who plays center sometimes. You had Steph Curry, who went from 23 points per game, and then he averaged 30 points per game. And it's just crazy. And then on top of that, on top of this team winning 73 games and Klay Thompson playing great and all this stuff, on top of that, one of the best players in the whole league, in the world, the second best player to LeBron James, was so enamored with Golden State's style of basketball that he had to bring his 7'1" self to Oakland to play with these guys, to make them almost unbeatable. So that's what we're dealing with. That's the Golden State Warriors, basically. So let's talk about this roster for a second. And let's start off with the newest comer of them all, Jordan Bell, the center from Oregon. So Oregon had a good NCAA tournament run last year. They had a couple players come to the league, which I'm very happy about. Not that I'm necessarily an Oregon fan, but I really liked that team during the tournament and during the college season last year. Jordan Bell is somebody, if he can really turn into what they think he can turn into, he's going to be somebody they sorely needed on this team. He's going to be somebody who could wipe away the need for all these crappy centers that they bring in. So they won the championship last year with Zaza Pachulia and JaVale McGee, as Shaq would say. And it just, they won't dedicate money to the center position. They don't really need a true center. They just need somebody in there who's long enough to try to protect the rim a little bit or whatever. And with this Jordan Bell cat, they got him in the second round, so they don't even have to pay him a lot of money. And I really think he's going to be what they need. Early on, a lot of the scouts and team officials or whatever said they remind him a lot of Draymond Green. But the deal is with Jordan Bell, he's a legit like 6'11", I believe, or like, well, he's listed as 6'8", but he looks bigger than that. Which is, if he's 6'8", he's still a little bit undersized, but whatever the case may be, he's a big guy though anyway. He's big in the paint or whatever. I believe he can be the rim protector that they need on the side of Draymond Green. Or who knows, if he really becomes a good player in this league, he could be a key to them, you know, probably letting Draymond Green walk or whatever to make sure they can retain Klay Thompson, seeing that he's probably a more useful part to that team, depending on who you talk to though. But yeah, as Jordan Bell, I think he's going to be a very good addition to this team. Omar Caspi or whatever, he's a guy who used to play for, he's been bouncing around the last couple of years. He's basically a spot up shooter at this point. Not a great defender, he's not a great ball handler or anything like that, but if you give him an open 3-point shot, he will drain it 9 times out of 10. You have Steph Curry. There's at this point, I don't even know what else to say about Steph Curry. He's somebody who forces defenses to, you know, change any strategy that they could have come up with. He's somebody who you have to overreact so much to a simple ball screen that it throws your whole defense out of whack or whatever, because Steph Curry's shot is so pure and so amazing. As soon as he turns the corner on a screen, as soon as there's a little bit of daylight, he's getting that shot up, and he gets it off so quick. As soon as he turns the corner, he gets the shot up, and if he gets the shot up, it's going in. So I believe the way the Cavs were able to slow him down a little bit in the finals is they were just trapping him on the ball every time he had the ball, and they tried to set a screen for him. They're just trapping him every single time. And it was such a poorly balanced defensive plan that there was open people all over the court, but it's just so happened that it kind of worked out because LeBron James is so fast and athletic. He was able to kind of cut some of that space down because he kept jumping the pass lane and getting open and getting fast breaks or whatever. But that's the point. Like, you have to come up with some kind of like ridiculous strategy just to try to stop him from turning the corner on screens, because if he does, he's going to torch you. He's one of the top 5 players in the NBA. He's probably just second to like LeBron, KD, depending on how you love Kawhi Leonard, and he's right there with Russell Westbrook in my opinion. Not too much. He's probably the best shooter in history. It's not really too much you can say about Steph Curry. You could talk for days about him. He's just an outstanding player or whatever, and as long as the Golden State Warriors have him, they're going to be contenders for the title. Let's talk about Kevin Durant. Honestly, just like anybody else, I hate the fact that Kevin Durant went to that team, but at this point, it is what it is. He's the second best player in the world. It just is what it is. He can do everything. He's like 7 feet tall. He can dribble, you know, like a guard. He's still kind of quick. He's agile. He's very nimble and stuff like that. Even though he's 7 feet, he doesn't even look like he's 7 feet because of the way he can handle the ball, the way he can move. He took a step forward on defense this past year. When it comes to the block, when it comes to the help defense, when it just comes to the, you know, one-on-one defense, when it comes to the post defense, it was just ridiculous. He just took steps forward defensively, and he was able to kind of even out the fact that they had Zaza Pachulia as a starting center. His defensive contributions were that much that they were able to get away with having Zaza Pachulia as their rim protector for the whole season. That's how good Kevin Durant was. Draymond Green, another guy, the defensive player of the year. He's somebody who can initiate the offense and do it very well. That's the crazy part about it. He can literally be the facilitator, and they can have Steph Curry playing off ball in the position to score, and he does it well. Very low turnovers, good decisions, very high basketball IQ. Once again, Steve Kerr put him in a position to succeed. You have Andre Iguodala. Now, I really believed that Andre Iguodala was not going to come back to this team. I really do think so. He said that that they were going to have to cut the check or else he was out. He went to Houston. He met with Daryl Morey. There was a whole lot of talk about San Antonio. Greg Popovich and those guys were really trying to get him in the fold. In my opinion, it wasn't even so much because other than him being another, long wing who could defend at a high level, I don't really see how great he would have fit in San Antonio or whatever. But I think they just wanted him off that team because you need to get somebody off that freaking team, man. They just have too many weapons. Now, I like Iggy. He's not a shooter. He's not necessarily somebody who can score at a high level, but he's somebody when it's game time, when it's time to go, when it's time to decide the game, them threes that he's been missing the whole game, when that becomes your strategy just to let him shoot the whole game and he misses shot after shot after shot, you start to notice that those shots start to go in as they get more important, right? So he has something in him. He's a gamer. He's a good defender. He's smart. He's a smart basketball player. He's just a very, very big asset to this team. And I'm sad that they were able to re-sign him. You have Sean Livingston. Once again, somebody who they basically saved his career because, well, he had already come back and he was playing with Jason Kidd with the Nets and things of that nature. So it wasn't so much that he was like washed or anything like that, but playing with the Warriors just kind of revitalized him. Now, he's not the star that we all thought he was going to be when he came out of high school and early in his career, but Sean Livingston. Now he's a two-time champion, and he has a carved out role on this team. He was a free agent this past season. I don't even think he even considered leaving. Why would you leave, right? You're comfortable there. You're a solid piece to the championship puzzle. And a year ago, even though they lost a year ago, but that bench was tough. And that bench was led by Sean Livingston, also Will Barbosa, but it was led by Sean Livingston, and he had some games in the finals. So his brightest moments are coming with the Warriors. So I'm very happy for Sean Livingston, even though I don't particularly love the Warriors. Kevin Looney, Kevon, he's I don't see it. I personally just don't see his game in this league, but we'll see. He's still a young player. We can see how he can continue to develop. Another thing is, though, on this team, he's not going to get that many opportunities. So he's going to really have to show Kerr and the rest of that coaching staff something if he really wants to, be a factor there. Patrick McCaw. Now, it's funny. The Warriors scouting team is tough, man. Because this guy, they got him. I didn't think much of him. I watched him in college. I didn't think that much of him in college. He got to this team. I didn't think much of him. I thought he was going to be somebody who basically rode the bench, which he rode the bench for quite a while, for quite a large part of the season. And to think this guy could be a factor. Like, he didn't score a lot of buckets necessarily, but that game 5, and even in that series in general, because Steve Kerr was doing some stuff with staggering the minutes and stuff, which really gave them a strategic edge over Cleveland this year. But I'm just going to talk about Game 5. In Game 5, when the Warriors and the Cavs were battling it out and the Cavs were just trying to stay alive to get another game in Cleveland, there was a time period where LeBron was balling and Kyrie was balling. They were all just, you know, trying to get an advantage because it's so hard to win in Oakland. And I just noticed Steve Kerr he said, Curry, come here. Kevin, come here. Sit down. And they sat for a long stretch. And this is game 5. This is an elimination game, right? Most coaches would be like, oh no, you guys are going to go 45 minutes or whatever to try to get this win, try to get this series over. This is an elimination game. Steve Kerr says, come over. Kerr, and they have a big lead at this time. Kerr, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant just sit on the bench for a long stretch of time. Meanwhile, LeBron is working hard. Kyrie is working hard to try to get back in the game. Oh, we're cutting it to 11 points. We're cutting it to 9 points. We're cutting it to 7 points. Slowly chipping away at the lead. And Steve Kerr just has his legs up, just watching. Just watching. It gets to the 4th quarter. And the Cavs are powering back, but then you look at LeBron and he's starting to slow down because he's expended so much energy trying to close the gap with the Warriors, trying to get another game in Cleveland. As soon as the time was right, Steve Kerr looks over at Kevin Durant, go back in. Kevin Durant comes through, fresh, comes in fresh, three-pointer, comes in fresh, three-pointer drop. LeBron don't got nothing left to try to guard him. How you gonna guard? You can't guard Kevin Durant anyway, but how, especially if you're fatigued and he's fresh coming off the bench. I was just like, well, just wave the towel. Like, that's just, you know, great coaching. And he just has guys. The reason he was even able to do that, and the reason Golden State was able to, even though the lead was, they were giving up the lead slowly, right? And the reason why that lead was being given up so slowly is because of the minutes and the timely buckets by Patrick McCaw and Andre Iguodala. Patrick McCaw he didn't have a lot of points, but he had like 2 big buckets to extend that run that the Cavs kept going on. The Cavs were going, chipping, and those buckets and the threes Iguodala made just made it that much longer to catch up, and he just made the Cavs expend just that much more energy to open the door for Kevin Durant just to come in and sweep them off the court. And I just thought that was great coaching. I thought Patrick McCaw gave them some good minutes on defense and on offense. Andre Iguodala gave them some good minutes on defense and offense, even though he missed some shots, but he made some timely shots. And it was just good strategy, and it was just a way to get them out of there. So Patrick McCaw, I really respect what he was able to do his rookie season, especially on a team like that that's, first of all, star-studded and a championship team. So I really, really respect Patrick McCaw. You also have JaVale McGee, who was able to kind of redeem his reputation a little bit because, you know, he was almost out of the league. Shaq was talking about him, Dr. Strange, everybody was talking about him, everybody was making fun of him. But he was able to come, he gave them some good minutes off the bench. Zaza Pachulia is terrible, obviously, but hey, he's a champion. You got Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is also one of the best shooters in the NBA, and I love the fact that he's a two-way player. He could defend, you know, 3 positions, and it's not even just like he could defend 3 positions. He could defend elite players at 3 different positions, and he takes the challenge, and I really, really respect Klay Thompson, and he's just a knockdown shooter. He's probably I believe if this team didn't have Klay Thompson, if his team is Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and Draymond Green and whoever else you want to add to it, who's not like a, you know, superstar or whatever, but if you just subtract Klay Thompson, I think this team is a lot more beatable. I mean, that's still a very good duo, and people talking about, oh, they're the best duo in history. But Klay Thompson is a huge reason why this team is so dominant. Because he is a nuclear missile, man. He comes in the game. If it's a situation like, I've seen him multiple times. In Game 6, when they played against Kevin Durant when he was with the Thunder, they were in trouble. When they're in trouble, he really just reaches in his bag and he just goes nuclear on them. He did the same thing, even though it was a losing performance in the finals last year. I believe it was Game 5 in Oakland or whatever, the game where they had the double 41, Kyrie and LeBron. Klay Thompson, people forget Klay Thompson had a great performance that game. It's because the chips were on the line, and you know Steph ain't necessarily doing it or whatever. So he takes it upon himself, and when he takes it upon himself, he's a nuclear missile. Absolutely awesome. For my own personal reasons, though, I really wish somehow Klay Thompson would go to his own team. People would really realize just how huge of a factor he is. I know he gets respect, but I really think people don't realize how big of a part of this team that Klay Thompson is. David West, he's there. He's another big body. He had a very good career, and now he's a champion. So, I mean, I guess you can say I'm happy enough for David West. I thought he would retire, but no, he's coming back for more. I guess he sees an opportunity to win multiple rings, so we'll see whether or not that opportunity was right or not. And Mr. Nick Young, Swag AP. You know, I used to like Nick Young. It's funny. Nick Young, I watched him at USC. I thought he was a pretty good player at USC. When he was with Washington, I thought he was a pretty good player, up and coming player. When he went to the Clippers, that's when I really used to like Nick Young. I still remember the game. I believe it was the Clippers and Memphis, or was it the Clippers and OKC, or one of them. But the Clippers went on a run, and that run was a lot to do with Nick Young. He hit a bunch of threes in a row to catch them up, and they won that game. It was so exciting, so amazing. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a Nick Young fan, man. Nick Young's awesome. And then he became Swaggy P, and then I stopped caring. But anyway, he'll end up being a good piece coming off the bench for this team. I don't know how good. I don't know if he can become a distraction, so it's a little risky. But if he's serious about trying to win the championship, he'll be a vital piece. All in all, I think the NBA is tired of Golden State's crap, though. I honestly think all the teams, every team in the NBA is trying to figure out how to beat Golden State. Every team is adding the talent necessary to beat Golden State. With that in mind, I think it's a lot to have to deal with if you're the Golden State Warriors, and I do think somebody will come up with a formula to take this team down. Whether it's adding stars, Minnesota took some steps. They took quite a bit of steps to get, you know, a lot of wing depth or whatever, a lot of versatility. So we'll see what they can do. OKC did add another like top 10 player, depending on who's counting, in Paul George. That'll be interesting. He's somebody who can match up with Kevin Durant. Can't necessarily stop him, but he can match up, and he can match his offensive production to a point. You have the Spurs, who got more wing depth, of course. You have the Cavaliers, who've done stuff. I don't know how that stuff will work with Golden State versus Golden State just yet. You have Houston, who have also done stuff. And even though I don't know how Chris Paul and James Harden will fit and how they will match up with Golden State necessarily, but there is another guy in New York that they very well may bring aboard as well. And if they bring him aboard as well, I do believe that team will be able to knock off Golden State. But ultimately, until one of these situations happen, I'm saying this could, or these people may, or a team may come together that could possibly, you know, all of these are possibilities. But until one of these possibilities comes true, Golden State, they're the guys, man. They're the people at the top of the hill, sitting on the top of the hill, looking down at the rest of the NBA while the rest of the NBA tries to figure out how to climb up, all right? So that's what I'm talking about with Golden State. If you agree, leave your comments below. If you like the content, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And to join this hype squad, go ahead and subscribe, all right? We're getting deeper. See you next time.